Hello everybody, my name is Noelle. I'm an English teacher and I'm going to be your instructor for the extent of this course. This course is going to be focusing on pronunciation and accent training, specifically for a North American accent of English. So this is the accent that you will typically find throughout the United States as well as Canada. Throughout this course, we're going to be talking about a lot of different concepts as well as strategies that you all can use throughout your English pronunciation journey. This course can be used for beginners until advanced students. And again, it's just going to be focusing on these topics within pronunciation. So some people might think, why does pronunciation matter? If my grammar is perfect, if I have an extensive vocabulary, why does pronunciation or accent matter? This can be very useful, again, if you are wanting to study abroad, if you are working, maybe you already have a job in the United States or Canada and you want to improve your communication. Let's say you have to give a presentation to a team. You want to make sure that your team members understand every single idea and thought that you are expressing. Imagine that you put in hours and hours of work into a project, and then at the point of presenting it, maybe your team members don't completely understand what you were saying because of mispronunciation. It could even be that they understand what you're saying, but because the word wasn't pronounced exactly how it should be, it took them a few seconds to register what word you were saying. Okay, so these things can come out as distractions. So instead of your idea being presented and understood very clearly, maybe your listeners are distracted because they can't exactly understand right away what you're saying. So we want to avoid this breakdown of communication. Again, even if you are an advanced speaker, this could definitely be a useful course for you. So throughout this course, we're going to be talking a lot about this method of drilling. Drilling is one of the most useful methods within language learning. So whether you're learning English, Spanish, whatever the language is, this method can be applied. So this method is the idea of taking a mistake that you're making, or if you're learning a new vocabulary word, either one here, if you're learning something new or if it's a mistake that you want to correct, you can use this method. And the idea of this is that you're going to repeat the target word or the target phrase 10 times in 10 different sentences every day for 2 weeks. Okay, I know that sounds excessive, but I am going to explain exactly why this is necessary. So, let's say you're learning a new vocabulary word. Let's say you just learned, I'm thinking in my second language, one of the words that I learned that I knew I was not going to remember was trunk, like the trunk of your car. So what I did is I thought of 10 different sentences, 10 sentences that I would realistically use talking about the trunk of your car, and I repeated those over and over 10 times for 2 weeks. And I will tell you, to this day in my second language, I have not forgotten that word. So what you would do is, for example, with this word trunk, I thought of 10 different sentences, realistic sentences that I would use with the word, right? Can you open the trunk? I need to check in the trunk. I think I left the boxes in the trunk. Oh, it's in the trunk, right? So realistic ways that I would actually use this word in daily life. Okay, and it's important that you're using 10 different sentences because you're going to get more variety. It's going to come more naturally whenever you actually have to say it in realistic and daily life. This can also be used if you are correcting a mistake. So within language learning, there are lots of mistakes that we make. Sometimes we make mistakes because we are translating. So if it's a grammatical mistake, mostly this is going to come because we're translating from our first language to our second language. A mistake that I used to always make in Spanish is I would say, it depends on, but in Spanish, In Spanish, the translation would be different. So this is something that I would make because in English we say depends on, and I would use those exact same words in Spanish. So this is a mistake because we are translating from our first language to our second language. Other mistakes whenever it comes to pronunciation that we can make, maybe there's a new sound in our second language that does not exist in our first language. So since this is a new sound, this is muscles and movements that we've never had to use before in our life. Sometimes it's very difficult to adapt to that. Again, in my second language, I had to learn how to roll my R's. That's something that I'd never had to do before. In English, a lot of times these sounds are the TH sound. That's one of the sounds that is very uncommon in other languages. So that sound, right? It's a very awkward movement. It's something that many people are not used to doing. So whenever we encounter a sound that we have never had to make before, usually we substitute that sound with something that is very similar, that does exist in our first language. So a common sound that is similar to this sound might be a t or s sound. So that's why a lot of times when we say the word three, it comes out sounding exactly like tree, right? So that's another type of a mistake within pronunciation. We also have mistakes. This can be within grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, whatever it may be. We have mistakes that are classified as fossilized mistakes. These are mistakes that maybe we're conscious, maybe we know that they're a mistake, but people still understand us. It doesn't really impede communication. It's something that a mistake that we've been making for so long that it has become fossilized, right? Like a fossil. This is one of the most difficult mistakes to get rid of. Actually, I usually don't like to call these mistakes. I like to call them bad habits because in many cases we know that we're making this mistake. So instead of a mistake, I like to refer to it as a bad habit. And in order to overcome or to fix a bad habit, we must repeat the good habits over and over and over again. So in the case of pronunciation, this idea of drilling, of repeating something 10 times is absolutely essential because we are teaching our mouth to make these sounds, maybe sounds that we've never had to make before. We are creating this muscle memory. So if we are repeating this 10 times every single day for 2 weeks, the next time we're having a casual conversation, it's most likely going to come out in the correct way because we are building up that muscle memory. Within pronunciation, let's go back to this TH sound. Let's say that we always confuse three and tree. Whenever we say these two words, there's no difference. So we want to break this bad habit. We know that it's wrong. Most people understand us because of the context, but we want to be 100% clear so that nobody is ever confused whenever we say three. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of 10 different sentences. It can be, I have 3 cats. She is 3 years old, right? And the trick here is that we want to make 10 different sentences. We don't want to use the same sentence. We don't want to say, she is 3, she is 3, she is 3. Why don't we want to do that? Why is that not the most effective way? Well, this sound is going to change, or it's going to take different practice or training depending on the sound that comes before it. She is 3. We're going to be really good at making this z sound and then the th sound. But what if we have a different sound before 3? What if we have I am 3, am 3? That's a completely different sound. So we want to get our mouth used to making multiple different sounds before our target sound, so that in any case, whatever word we're using beforehand, we want to make sure that we are able to still make that th sound. Okay, so that's why it's really, really important that we're using 10 different sentences and that we're doing this for the extent of at least 2 weeks. Usually they say that to break a bad habit, we have to do it for like a month or so. 2 weeks, that's what we can realistically work with. But if you have the time, the dedication, definitely continue doing that until you really hear and notice that difference. So this method of drilling, we are going to be consistently reminding you, encouraging you to be using this method throughout this course. We're going to give you plenty of material in which you can practice with, and then you can notice the words that you think you need to improve. Or if there's a word that I mention, a vocabulary word that you previously did not know, you can use this exact same method to remember that word. So remember, this method of drilling, we're going to think of 10 different sentences using that target word or target phrase, and we're going to repeat those sentences every single day for 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks. So in this course, we're also going to be going over the different sounds within English. I'm going to be referring a lot to the IPA, which is the International Phonetic Alphabet, and this is an excellent way. If for some reason you are learning a new word and you don't know how to pronounce it, you can go to a dictionary and it will give you a bunch of these funny looking symbols. Each of these symbols represents a sound. So if I see one symbol and I know what sound it represents, just by looking at the series of symbols for a particular word, I will automatically know how to pronounce that word. So whenever I'm talking about two sounds that are very similar, such as the I sound and the E sound, it's a really different, a really difficult differentiation for Spanish speakers, for example. I might refer to these symbols, because if we know the symbols, then we can say, okay, I know this word ship, but I'm not sure if it's an I or an E sound. If you look up that word, you can see the symbol and you know, okay, it's a short I sound, it's an I sound. So I will be referring to these sounds quite a bit throughout the course. So we'll be talking about all of the different sounds in English, because even though we have a certain amount of letters in the alphabet, we have even more sounds. For each vowel in English, we have at least 2 different sounds. That is what can be rather difficult in English, especially if you are a Spanish speaker. In Spanish, the vowels are very straightforward, right? There's one pronunciation and that's it. So we're going to be going over these different sounds, difficult sounds. We're going to talk about confusing or challenging words, maybe words that have silent letters. And then we're going to be going over a lot of activities that we will encourage you all to do with this course, okay? This course is not just for you to be observing and watching, but you are definitely encouraged to be participating with this course, okay? So maybe we'll do an activity together where I'm reading something, you're reading as well, you're recording yourself. That's something that's really important, that you were recording yourself so that you can listen to how you sound, okay? So if we do an activity together, record yourself, review your recording, and then go back to how I said it or how another native speaker said it, so that you can compare your recording, your pronunciation, to a native speaker's pronunciation. So I hope you all enjoyed this course, and let's get to practicing.